Hey, what's up, everybody? We're going back to the bass block. I got some questions in the inbox the other day, and we're gonna try to get to those right now. It's Friday. It's jam night tonight, so which means I won't be playing much. I'll be more of a glorified sound engineer and bass tech, and I'll just be hanging out watching the local cats jam, and keeping an eye on the gear and doing sound, and you know and I might play a couple of times with a few of the local cats because some of them are really good. I play with a couple of them sometimes. We jam some stuff. But okay, let's get to the questions from the bass block we just started. And my boy Robin Harris, not Robin, I'm sorry, Robert Harris, and Robert is from, I can't pronounce it, but it's Connecticut. There's some city in Connecticut. Okay, Robert wants to know, what strings do you use? That's a very difficult question. I'll give you a brief history. When I started, I was into the boomers. When I started, JHS boomers, gauges 40 to 95. I was into those for a while, and then I went to the JHS Super Steels, which I loved for a long time. The taper cord Super Steels, and I was working at a distributor, so I was getting them really cheap. So I just loved those strings, and I used to just stock up on them because I was getting really wholesale from the distributor that I was working for. So, but presently, I'm a fan of Diodario Pro Steels and Nichols. I like the Pro Steels on my 6-string basses and some of my fives. On my other fives, I with the rosewood fretboard, I like the Nichols because I want to get more of an old school vibe and not so much of the you know that biting high end that the Steels give you. So, because on my rosewood five, I tend to play a lot of blues and rock gigs with the rosewood five, so I like the Nichols on that. But all my other basses have steels. Darios, I've been a fan of them for a while. What? As you can see, Dario Pro Steels. This set is not the gauges that I normally like. I usually like the 30, the 40, 60, the 80, the 100, and 130. That's what I usually like, but this is all they had here. That's all I could get. So I found another 4-string set, and I sort of swapped the G and the D strings out to get down to my gauges. And I'm a fan of DR. I'm a fan of Elixir, but they're hard to find, especially in 6-string sets. So when I can't find what I normally use, I'll use anything that's in my gauge, because for me the gauges are important because I play 5 to 6 nights a week, 2 to 3 hours a night, so the hands get kind of, when you're using heavier strings, your hands get kind of tired when you're playing that much. Even now my hands are a little bit sore because I play like 5 to 6 nights a week. I'm playing a lot. So okay, John Williams from Rhode Island. Why do you need a 6-string bass? Now that's another loaded question. Okay, in a lot of situations you don't really need a 6-string bass, but for me, it gives me extra flexibility. I know in a lot of situations, it gives me the opportunity to be more flexible and have more range. Because presently, the band I'm playing with is basically a 4-piece band, but we have no keyboard player. It's just guitar, bass, and drums, and we use minimal sequences of tracks. So a lot of the times I like to tap these little chords and harmonics over the bass line, especially when the guitar player is doing a solo or something and there's a lot of space there and it's empty. I like to just sort of fill it up, sonically. And sometimes even while I'm playing like a bass line, if it's like a rock tune and we're just, doing the standard progression, I'll just play the 5 or the octave above the root note. I'll just play it and let it ring just to fill in a little bit, to make it fatter, And as far as that, you don't really need a 6, but it's good to have that range, because I do a couple of jazz gigs sometimes, where it's just a jazz trios, keyboards, bass, and drums, and especially for soloing, it gives you a lot of options, and it's easier to play this way on a 6. Once you become accustomed to it, you can do a lot of things this way, instead of like if you had a 5 where you would have to go like this, So anyway, that's that. It's all a matter of preference, because even on this gig I only brought one bass. I have a 6, and I'm not doing a lot of jazz, but at the same time, people see 6-string basses and they tend to freak out on people. Oh, 6-string bass. Oh. Nah, guys are pleasantly surprised. The first thing they said to me was, "Man, I saw 6-string bass. I thought you were going to be all over the place, but you just grooving." I said, "Hey, you play what the song requires. Not just because you got the strings doesn't mean you have to play them all." You know what I'm saying? Okay. Anyway, let's move on to that. Who's this? Cora Smith from Alabama. We got an Alabama girl that plays bass. Cora Smith. Check it out. Okay, how do you choose an amp? Oh, this is another interesting question. My opinion is you should always buy the best amp you can afford. And by that, I mean the most powerful, the best amp you can afford. Not necessarily the biggest, but it's got to be flexible, because, I mean, if you're just practicing at home, you can get a little, 60, 80 watt combo or 100, whatever, and that might even be too much for your house. But that's fine. But if you're going to be doing a lot of variety of gigs, you need something with at least 500 watts, in my opinion, because you're going to find that when you're doing smaller venues, 500 watts will seem really loud, but you got control, you got volume. And then when you do medium-sized venues, it'll be just great. And then if you do larger venues, you have the option to add an extension cabinet, and then you have a amp for larger venues. In my opinion, I'm using a Mark Bass CMD. It's 103H combo. It's 3 10-inch speakers and a tweeter, and it's 500 watts, and it's really loud. And you can't add an extension speaker to that particular model, but I don't see why you would need one, because the amp is really loud and it's really light. That's the most important thing. If you're going to be doing a lot of gigging, I say go for some of the lightweight stuff, like everybody makes them now. Mark Bass, Getz Benz, everybody. The Tube 800, you can like have as many as like 3 cabs hooked up to it. The TC Electronic stuff, you can hook up like 2 or 3 cabinets to it, and it's modular, so you can take whatever you need. Because I like being able to take on a small gig a 210 cab, just a small gig, and then on a medium-sized gig I'll take a 410, and then on a huge gig I like using 2 410s, or 2 410s and a 15, or 2 410s and 212. It just depends, So first of all, you should get the best amp you can afford. I mean, something with at least 500 watts. The best one you can afford. And think about weight, because you're gonna have to be moving it. So, and a lot of people tend to disappear when it comes time to move the gear. So think about the weight of it. All right. And back to Robin's question, he had another one. He says, how often do you change your strings? Well, back in the day, I used to change my strings every week. I'd play a set for a week and throw them out, and that was that. But not so much anymore. A good friend of mine who's a bassist from New Jersey who lives in Japan now, a good friend of mine and also a part-time teacher of mine, Keith Williamson, alias K-Dub, taught me this little trick. And for you bass players that don't have a lot of money, this is a good one. You buy from any hardware store, it's a product called methyl hydrate. And what it is it's just methanol alcohol. That's all it is. And every 2 to 3 days, like me, if you're playing every night, every 2 to 3 days, you just take your strings off your bass, just, roll them up and throw them in there for like at least an hour. You take them out, you towel them off, put them back on your guitar, and they'll sound almost as good as new. And you can do that until the strings get like fret grooves in them, or they just break from metal fatigue. If you're not a hard player, like me, I'm a hard player. I do a lot of vibrato, and I really dig in on some stuff, so my strings tend to get fret grooves in them. So once they get fret grooves in them, they're done, because you lose your top end and you lose your sustain. So yeah, but I've had a set of strings on one of my basses for like 6 months. I just kept cleaning them and putting them back on, cleaning them, because I wasn't really digging. I was just using it more for recording. Recording requires different technique than live playing. You don't dig in as much unless you're asked to. So I just kept cleaning them and putting them back on. They finally broke from metal fatigue, believe it or not. So that's the thing. In a perfect world, I'd like to change my strings every 2 days, but can't afford it. I don't have a string endorsement, can't afford it. So basically that's what I do. I just clean them and put them back on until they, get fret grooves in them, or they, just die from metal fatigue, and then I'll change them out. So sometimes the set that's on my bass now has been on there for 2.5 months. And right now, as you can see, I have them in the methyl hydrate, cleaning them and putting them back on before I play tonight. Because, time to clean the bass, so I'm cleaning it and going to string it back up. Okay, that's it for now. Those are the questions. Inbox me on Facebook. You can, drop your question in there, or on Project T on MySpace, Project T on Reverb Nation, Project T on SoundCloud. You can hit me at, Twitter. I'm Bassgodz on Twitter. Pop me a question on Twitter, whatever. I'll be more than happy to answer anything that you need answering, because believe me, when I started, nobody answered these questions for me. So this is all the stuff that I've learned over my 35 plus years of playing. So I'm glad to pass it on to you guys, because Rock and Roll University is closed, and us old pros got to, pass on the knowledge to the next generation. So peace, love, and chicken grease. We out, and it's Friday night, so I'm going to relax and chill before the jam session starts. And we'll see y'all next time. Peace. Thanks.